Sitting here with Howard Wolfson, and today we wanted to discuss, in honor of Tax Day, April 15th, Senator Obama's claims of about his commitment to transparency. Obviously, over the last several weeks, we've heard a lot of rhetoric from the Obama campaign about the need for tax return transparency, and for all of their talk, one might have thought that they'd have released all of Senator Obama's records and tax returns. But I guess we should all guess again. Over the last month or so, the Obama campaign did one conference call after another, one statement after another, one memo after another, attacking our candidate for not immediately releasing the tax returns of the last few years. Keep in mind that Senator Clinton and President Clinton have over 20 years of tax returns already publicly available in the public domain. I believe Senator Obama's quote was, quote, that the American people deserve to know where you get your income from, and he would constantly stress the need for full transparency, and he would even go so far as to suggest that his campaign has set the bar for transparency. Well, Senator Clinton has released the tax returns that hadn't been public. They are now in the public domain, and we believe she is the only candidate in this race with close to 30 years worth of tax returns available to the public. Senator Obama, despite his rhetoric, does not appear to be abiding by the same standards that he has set for our campaign, though. And he has refused to release his tax returns for 1997, 1998, and 1999, even though he was in public life at that time during those years. And during that period of time, he was accepting campaign contributions from lobbyists representing special interests, PACs, and even directly from corporations. So we think that, if Senator Obama is going to set a standard for our campaign, certainly he should be following that same standard. And I guess to sum it up, when it comes to transparency, the only thing transparent about Senator Obama is his claim that he is transparent. So I will turn it over to Howard and take it from there.
Thanks, Phil. Thanks, everyone. I'm also joined by our fabulous policy director, Neera Tanden, Neeratanden. Neera is going to talk a little bit about Senator McCain's economic tax proposals today. Then I'll talk a little bit about Pennsylvania, and we'll be happy to answer your questions. We're going to try to keep the call to about 45 minutes today. We usually do an hour, but I know some of you are probably engaged in your own last-minute tax preparations and have other things to do than stay on the call with us. So with that, I will turn it over to Neera for our take on Senator McCain's economic proposal.
Thank you, Howard. John McCain today is outlining an economic strategy that Americans simply cannot afford. It is a George Bush redux of corporate windfalls and tax cuts for the wealthy that will bankrupt our government and leave working families with the bill. The centerpiece of his agenda is slashing corporate taxes from 35 to 25%. In his speech, Senator McCain will talk about the excesses of companies like Countrywide, but what he will fail to mention is that Countrywide would have received a $500 million tax cut under his plan. He will talk a lot about corporate loopholes, but his plan is a corporate lobbyist dream, creating massive new corporate tax shelters that will let many of the most profitable companies avoid paying taxes altogether. And I would just note that ExxonMobil, the most profitable company in the history of the world, would get a $1.4 billion tax cut under Senator McCain's plan. Hillary has a very different vision. She believes that we need to restore the American middle class. She would invest resources in ensuring that we are creating good, high-wage jobs here in the United States. She has a plan to create 5 million new jobs in alternative energy. She will actually go after the corporate interests. She has proposed a $55 billion corporate special interest agenda that closes loopholes that reward companies for shipping jobs overseas. It goes after the two pharmaceutical companies for charging exorbitant prices. She has a very strong agenda on these issues. And I would say that her tax cutting agenda, is focused on middle-class Americans, from health care tax subsidies to making college more affordable with a $3,500 tax credit to long-term care. Her tax agenda isn't focused on corporate interests. It's focused on the middle-class interests. And that's why, as president, she'll focus on ensuring that we are restoring the American dream for middle-class Americans.
Thanks, Neera. Neera will stick around a little bit to answer specific questions about Senator McCain's plan. I just wanted to give a little bit of an overview, a very brief overview of where we see things in Pennsylvania, just so everybody has the facts and figures in front of them. Just when you thought that Senator Obama couldn't possibly spend more money in the state of Pennsylvania, he has this week shattered his own record of spending by putting in a whopping $3.3 million worth of television ads into the state of Pennsylvania. He is outspending us approximately 2.1 this week. He outspent us about 2.1 last week, and he was outspending us before last week over 3-1. So Senator Obama, despite having begun the campaign with a feint towards not competing in Pennsylvania, is doing all he can to win in Pennsylvania. He is spending massively in order to win in Pennsylvania. He knows, as we do, that there is no reason why any Democrat running for president shouldn't be expected to win in Pennsylvania. And so that is what he is trying to do. We have said all along that we believe that the road to 1600 Pennsylvania runs through Pennsylvania. We believe that we are competing hard there and doing well, and that next week's primary constitutes a key test in this race for both candidates. If Senator Obama fails to win Pennsylvania, despite outspending us massively, it will be another sign that he is unable to win in the large states that a candidate for president on the Democratic ticket needs to win. It will be another sign that he is unable to close the deal here in the latter part of this race, and will be a clear indication that he has not yet passed the clear tests that voters are looking for in terms of who is best to be commander-in-chief, who is best to be a steward of the economy. So make no mistake, Senator Obama is competing full bore in Pennsylvania. He's doing everything he can to win in Pennsylvania, and if he fails to win in Pennsylvania, it will be a significant defeat for him. And with that, we are happy to open up the line for questions, and we'll take questions for approximately 30 minutes on this or other topics.
All right, members of the press, if you have a question, please press star 1 on your telephone keypad. This will place your question in the order it was received. Once again, if you have a question, please press star 1 now, and we'll take the first question.
Hi, Howard. It's Jeff Toobin.
Hey.
It seems like you are, there's a significant turning point here. I mean, this is the first outright negative ad that either candidate has run in this primary campaign. And I wonder if there's any concern at all in the Clinton campaign about whether this is a death spiral that will begin to damage the party rather than just damage the candidate of your choice.
Well, first, I appreciate the question. I think I would take some issue with the facts as presented. Senator Obama did run a negative radio ad against us in Texas. that was he had General McPeak attacking Senator Clinton. We have had negative, misleading mail from Senator Obama in a number of states that was debunked by many independent organizations that he continued to send. So this is not the first time that we've seen an ad like this. But to the larger question that you ask, look, I believe, and I don't know what the team in Senator Obama's campaign think, but they may well believe this as well, that this has been a relatively mild primary campaign. Both candidates have focused on issues. It has been relatively civil, and I am quite confident that regardless of the outcome, and I expect Senator Clinton to be the nominee, but regardless of the outcome, that the party will come together and do everything it can to support the nominee against John McCain, because as Neera laid out, the differences between the Democrats and John McCain on issues like the economy and, of course, on Iraq are profound. And I believe that those differences will motivate Democrats, regardless of who they supported in the primary, to support our eventual nominee. Having said all that, I think that the issues raised in the ad are important issues, because there has been a great deal of concern about Senator Obama's remarks in California. He himself has offered several different explanations for them, none of them quite satisfying to the people of Pennsylvania. And so the ad is a set of reactions from our supporters that I think mirrors the reactions of many Pennsylvanians to comments by Senator Obama that they believe condescended to them. And in the context of the campaign that is being waged on both sides, it's an important set of issues. But I believe certainly that at the end of this contest, the party will get back to together, will unite behind one candidate, and that candidate will have a unified party behind him or her. I expect her going up against John McCain.
All right, we'll take our next question.
Hi, it's Amy Chozick at the Wall Street Journal. A new Quinnipiac poll shows that regardless of who the respondents support, they believe Senator Obama will get the nomination. Now, not saying you don't listen to polls, how are you dealing with this perception moving forward?
Well, the people do watch TV. They do read newspapers. They are aware of the current delegate count. But I do not believe that is preventing, let's say, voters in Pennsylvania, for instance, of supporting Senator Clinton if that is their choice. We think we are positioned to do well in Pennsylvania. There are clearly going to be some people who aren't sure who the eventual nominee is going to be, who are going to support her because they believe that she would be the best nominee. And I think at the end of the day, people are going to support the person that they believe is going to be the best nominee and the best president. We have seen time and time again in this campaign when our friends in the punditry counted Senator Clinton's chances out, when they counted her out in New Hampshire, going into Texas and Ohio, and voters had a different response. And so I think voters are going to determine their choice based on who they think would be the best nominee and the best president, not on the question of who they currently believe may be ahead in the contest.
Okay, we'll take our next question.
Yeah, hi, it's Gordon Trowbridge from the Detroit News. I wanted to see if I could sneak in two parochial questions. Senator Clinton made some comments yesterday in Pennsylvania about the possibility of rescuing the big three automakers if one of them goes under. If Neera is still there, I wondered if she could expand a little bit on what exactly the senator meant by that, under what circumstances the federal government should come to the Big Three's aid, and what kind of aid that would be. And also, if I could ask Phil for just the campaign's update on where the Michigan and Florida delegate situation stands.
It's Howard. I'm going to turn it over to both of them in a second, but I want to just make clear to everyone on the call that the questions that you've raised are hardly parochial. That they obviously have a tremendous interest in these questions in Detroit, and rightfully so. But the future of auto manufacturing in this country and the disposition of the Florida and Michigan situations are matters that rightfully concern all Americans and should be important to everyone. So I just want to make mention of that and turn it over to Neera and Phil.
First and foremost, Hillary has an actual plan to help the auto manufacturers, or several steps she would take here and now. So first and foremost, as part of her health care plan, she has initiatives to ensure that she's helping Detroit and really manufacturers around the country with high legacy costs. And we'll be happy to shoot you additional information on that. In addition, she has proposed as part of her energy plan a major investment in $20 billion nationwide in new funds to help auto manufacturers with plant restructuring, etc. And we'll be happy to send you information on that. I think Hillary specifically asked about, what she would do if she would just allow any of these companies to go under. And over the last 3 days, Hillary has really been laying out an agenda to ensure that we are maintaining a manufacturing base in the United States. She's been talking about these issues for years. The decline of the manufacturing base in our country is one that should concern every American. It's not only, and something she pointed out in Indiana, it's not only an economic issue, it's a national security issue, because when the United States loses its manufacturing base, we really are ensuring that countries like China are producing are really defense jobs and defense goods, and that is a concern to her. And as a senator, she has been focused on this issue as a member of the Senate Armed Services Committee, and she laid out a detailed agenda on Saturday in Indiana, and yesterday talked more about new proposals to address trade enforcement. So her approach to this is to ensure that the United States overall is focused on its manufacturing agenda. She has a very different vision from the Bush administration, which has really ignored this problem and allowed 3 million jobs to simply depart from our country, high-wage, good-paying jobs. So her position on this is, as the president, it would be a major concern to her if one of our major companies was was threatened, and like previous presidents, she would take action to resolve it.
Gordon, this is Phil. Sorry, I just have to step up to the phone. With regard to Florida and Michigan, look, we remain hopeful and confident that at the end of the day there will be a resolution to the outstanding situation involving the seating of delegates from those states and making sure that the close to 2.5 million people who voted are able to have their votes counted. There is currently a challenge pending before the DNC out of Florida that we expect the Rules and Bylaws Committee will be processing, over the next next several weeks. And I would commend people to read an interview that Senator Clinton gave to the St. Petersburg Times, where she discussed some of these issues involving Florida and Michigan, and I think made the fair point that ultimately the DNC is the final word on this issue and on this matter, and that we are hopeful for a resolution that ensures that these two key states are counted in the Democratic nominating process, and that we don't give the Republicans any kind of issue to use against us in the fall.
Okay, we'll take our next question.
Next question.
Hi. It's Andrea Mitchell. Yeah, hi, Howard. Sorry, I apologize, on the train. Question about what Rendell said last night to reporters, where he didn't seem to think that the political remarks were going to be a big deal, that they'd be forgotten by November, and that they hadn't really moved voters.
Well, I think you've seen some data from Pennsylvania. There was an ARG poll that had some significant movement between the last poll and this one. We believe that this is an important issue for voters. We believe that there is a strong reaction to it, and obviously how it all comes out remains to be seen on Tuesday. It is certainly the case that Senator Obama will have unlimited resources to tell his side of the story here, and do what he can to get his message out. Somebody just instant messaged me that the new Rasmussen poll has us up from +5 to +9.
There's been no movement in Quinnipiac at all, although...
Well, here's what I'd say. You have some polls that have no movement, and you have a couple of polls that have significant movement in our direction. We believe that this is an important issue. We believe that voters care about this issue, and it's something that we intend to continue to discuss because it is important.
You don't think that the governor knows better than anybody else in the campaign how it's playing on the ground in Pennsylvania?
I think Governor Rendell is the best surrogate that any campaign could ask for. I think that he has done an amazing job for us in Pennsylvania. Everyone in this campaign is enormously impressed with his savvy as a politician. We believe that this is an important issue, and we'll see how it plays out.
And this is Phil. I think that there's often I think that there's often a temptation to look at the first poll that comes out in the aftermath of something like this, and to sort of draw an instant or insta conclusion off of it. Ultimately, what matters here is the substance of what Senator Obama said. And if you look at what Governor Rendell told a newspaper in Pennsylvania the other day, he said that Senator Obama, got it wrong. That people in Pennsylvania, who live in smaller towns, have a faith in God that has deep roots, enjoy a tradition of gun ownership and that spans generations, and that is part of a larger tradition in the state, and that Senator Obama perhaps had not spent enough time in Pennsylvania, in some of these communities, and hadn't really achieved a full grasp of what they're about. And I think ultimately that's the significance of this incident, that Senator Obama seems to be somewhat detached and offering remarks that many people have termed elitist or condescending.
Okay, thank you.
We'll take our next question.
Good morning, Howard. Good morning, Phil. Good morning, Nira. It's Major Garrett at Fox.
Good morning, Major.
The accompanying release says these are Hillary supporters for the ad. I'm curious, are they all Hillary supporters who live and are registered to vote in Pennsylvania, and will it be possible for us to have any follow-up contact with them to further educate ourselves about their level of anxiety or resentment or whatever about what Obama said? And secondarily, I've talked to several Democratic strategists who are trying to figure out if you are running this ad because you are afraid the polls are tightening and you need to push back, or conversely, you feel you have a comfortable lead, but this ad is designed to maximize the margin of victory in Pennsylvania to achieve maximum momentum heading to Indiana and North Carolina.
Okay, a number of different questions. One, they are all Pennsylvania residents. I would probably refer you to our Pennsylvania communications team as to their voting status because I don't want to give an answer that I'm not fully aware of, although my assumption would be that they are all voters. I don't know whether or not they would be interested in being interviewed. That would be sort of up to them, obviously, and probably best to go through our communications team in Pennsylvania.
The campaign would have no objection.
I would have no objection, no.
Okay.
And neither would the campaign. I think, their remarks are and comments are broadly representative of many people in Pennsylvania. I mean, I've seen a number of segments on TV in which individuals are interviewed by your colleagues who echo the comments that are made in our advertisement. So I don't think that their comments are in any way unusual or particular to themselves. And as to the decision to run the ad, well, we think that this is an important issue in the context of the race, and we're in the business of advertising issues that we think are important in the context of this race. Senator Obama's comments, as Phil said, struck a nerve with many people in Pennsylvania. They found them condescending, and they became an important issue in this race because he said them. And campaigns are about discussing important issues in the race, and so that's what we're going to do.
Okay, we'll take our next question.
Hey, it's Christina Valentoni with the Washington Times. I actually have two questions. Do you guys have a response to Obama's new ad that is tying Senator Clinton to lobbyists that they're releasing only on the web? And then secondly, how do you feel about Senator Clinton's scheduled appearance on the Colbert Report? Are you a little worried that she is going into the lion's den here?
I generally try not to respond to web videos if it's something that they want to put their considerable resources behind by putting on television. We'll respond to it. I think everyone is familiar with the fact that Senator Obama has taken a considerable amount of money in his career from PACs and lobbyists and corporations. With regard to Colbert, we're all looking forward to watching it. There's a lot of fans of the show in the campaign. I think Hillary does well when she's in settings like that. It's probably not going to. It may not necessarily be an interview like every other one that she's going to give on that day, but we're looking forward to it, and we think it's obviously there are many different ways of communicating with voters, and he has an important audience. He's got a great show, and Hillary's looking forward to it.
And would you say his audience is pro-Obama?
I wouldn't. I don't necessarily jump to that conclusion. I wouldn't make a judgment about that. I think that his audience is engaged and well-informed, and obviously interested in politics. So that suggests to me that those members of his audience who are watching in Pennsylvania are likely to vote. But I don't have any sense of whether or not they would be supporting Senator Obama over Senator Clinton, or Senator Clinton over Senator Obama, for that matter.
All right, we'll take our next question.
Rodney Livingston, the SBNN.NET television network here in Washington, D.C. The background or the context for the question is, why are Americans so, specifically voters, why are they so poor? Why is it that they can't pay the going rate? And the question is, in the economic plans of the candidates, including Hillary's, will there be a simple spreadsheet on a DVD so that voters can then use that to make use their judgment and their analysis by filling in the data? And an example would be, there's been in other campaigns discussion of the speculators. And so the speculators, now some of them have renters in that property. And so then if they're going to be judged as making a bad investment and suffer the speculator consequences, then it may impact on renters when some voters spend their entire career, their entire life just voting. So the overarching theme is, why is it that people can work 50 years in America and still be poor? And I think that the data that they could use may be valuable if that's available.
thank you for your question. So Hillary has a very detailed economic agenda focused on both investing in new jobs and ensuring that we are creating high-wage jobs in the United States, as well as providing middle-class tax cuts, a tax cut for middle-class Americans. Her vision is very different from the McCain vision, the Bush-McCain vision, and her focus is on ensuring that we are really addressing the concerns of middle-class Americans, whether it's saving for retirement or affording, being able to afford college, or addressing the long-term care needs that so many parents and so many families are struggling with. And that's what her agenda really is focused on. Now, all of her proposals are available on the website, and so we really invite Americans to analyze her proposals, look to see how she really is addressing the needs of middle-class Americans and working families. She has a detailed agenda to help ensure that people who are struggling, who have lived in poverty, can actually move up into the middle class. We really invite all Americans to really examine her proposals, because one of the reasons why she's running for president is to solve these problems. And she has put forward a detailed agenda on really many of the issues that you raise, so that people can really judge her not by her words, but what she will do as president.
Thank you, Neera.
All right, we'll take the next question.
Hey, it's Kristen Jensen from Bloomberg. Both Senator Obama and Senator McCain have used the controversy over Senator Obama's comments in San Francisco for fundraising. Just wondering if you guys have seen any effect on your money coming in, and if you can give me a sense of how much you've raised in the last 3 days or the last 24 hours.
I'm not sure, Phil. I'm not sure that we've sent out a fundraising email on this. I don't believe that we have. Our fundraising continues to be strong. We continue to raise a considerable amount of money on the internet, but I don't believe that we have, at least as of yet, sent out any email on this topic.
And Kristen, this is Phil. One thing I would just flag about the fundraising notice that the Obama campaign sent out, it's quite curious, because they are trying to raise money off of his controversial remarks. And the email that they sent out from their campaign manager yesterday said, quote, "A few days ago, Barack spoke about the frustrations that working people in this country are feeling, and said what we all know is true, that many people are bitter and angry because they believe their government isn't listening to them. Our opponents have been spinning the media and peddling fake outrage around the clock." Interestingly, the letter that they sent out omitted the portion of Senator Obama's remarks that are causing the most controversy. He didn't say that people in small-town America were bitter. He said that because they were bitter, they cling to guns, or, quote, "they cling to guns or religion or antipathy to people who aren't like them, or anti-immigrant sentiment or anti-trade sentiment as a way to explain their frustrations." And this seems to be part of a larger pattern that the Obama campaign has engaged in over the last several days since this story started to get attention, where they are trying to recast what Senator Obama said and focus on the sort of the least controversial elements of what Senator Obama said. We have itemized a number of these instances on our Fact Hub website, which I'm sure many of you are aware of, at facts.hillaryhub.com. But I wanted to flag that they are engaging and trying to raise money in a way that is certainly not commensurate with or consistent with what Senator Obama actually said.
Can you guys can you give me any sense, even if you can't give me numbers, though, of whether you've seen an uptick in the last 3 days in money coming in or anything like that?
I'd actually have to check and get back to you if I can.
Okay, that'd be great. Thanks.
All right, we'll take our next question.
Good morning. It's Chuck Rosh at Gannett. Howard, I was going to ask another question, but I wanted to make sure I heard you correctly. Did you say earlier that the campaign felt all along that the road to 1600 Pennsylvania runs through Pennsylvania? I may not have caught that, but I don't think I remember you guys talking about Pennsylvania being this pivotal in January and February. And then on the broader point, is there a danger for a candidate whose husband has made $100 million since leaving the White House, inferring that any opponent is disconnected from working Americans?
Well, let me take your second question first. There is a tradition of a long tradition of presidents in this country. Franklin Roosevelt would be one. John Kennedy would be another, who have had personal wealth, being strong champions of working people, and being great presidents for working people. Senator Clinton and President Clinton did not grow up with great wealth. President Clinton in particular grew up as a person of very modest means. Senator Clinton grew up in a very middle-class family. And so they have done well in this country, and they are grateful for that. And they certainly know that it is unwise and inappropriate to talk down to voters about their values and beliefs, which is what many believe Senator Obama did. So I don't think there is anything inconsistent with someone who has wealth championing causes that will result in a better economy, better education, a better future for middle-class families. And I should remind you that neither of the candidates, well, actually none of the candidates left in this race, all of the candidates left in this race are people of some means. As to your first question, I don't unfortunately have a running transcript of what I said, although it may make sense for me to begin doing that. What I believe is that when it became clear that Pennsylvania primary was going to be this hotly contested, that it was important for the candidates to compete there, and that it mattered who won in Pennsylvania. I don't know if last year we were talking a lot about Pennsylvania. I think if your question is...
Well, that's what I was wondering, what you meant by all along.
Well, I think if I said that, and I'm not conceding, I'm not saying I didn't, I think what I meant is that when we began talking about Pennsylvania in the context of a contested primary, it was clear that the winner of that contest would matter, that the contest itself would matter, and that it was important for both candidates to be able to compete effectively. I mean, obviously, if I think a year ago we were focused on Iowa and New Hampshire on February 5th, many thought that the race would be over on February 5th. When it became clear that it wasn't, it obviously was the occasion of considerable amount of conversation. But actually, in thinking about it, what I believe is, and I don't know if we've always said this, but I've always believed it, that the actual road to the White House in November does go through Pennsylvania. That you can't, as a Democrat, you can't win the White House in November without going through Pennsylvania. There is no electoral map that I've seen that gets a Democrat to the White House unless Pennsylvania is blue. So in the context of a general election, the road to 1600 Pennsylvania does go through Pennsylvania, and that's what I meant. In the context of a primary, it's obviously important who does well in Pennsylvania because it says an awful lot about how that person is going to do in Pennsylvania going forward. And we do not win the White House back unless we win Pennsylvania. So my comment about the road to 1600 going through Pennsylvania were made in the context of a general election. And obviously, how candidates fare in primaries do tell us something about how they will fare in that state in a general election. It's not dispositive, but it is indicative.
All right, we'll take our next question.
Hey, everybody. It's Kirk Victor at National Journal. I think this may have been asked at the very beginning or a sort of a part of this. And what I'm curious about is that if she is indeed the nominee, has Senator Clinton so alienated African-American voters with her attacks that they might sit on their hands in a general election?
No, I don't think so, and that is a variation of the question I was asked at the top. I do believe that regardless of the outcome of this race, and I do believe that Senator Clinton will be the nominee, but regardless of the outcome of this race, we will have a united Democratic Party in the fall against John McCain because this is the most important election of our lives. The differences between both Democrats and John McCain are profound. And so I believe that if you are a Democrat, you will unite behind the standard bearer of our party and do everything you can to help elect that person president. Everyone in this campaign will do that. I assume everyone in the Obama campaign would do that if Senator Clinton is, as I believe she will be, the nominee. And I believe that rank-and-file Democrats are also going to unite behind our standard bearer. I've seen some polls that suggest some percentage of the Obama vote might not be for Clinton, and some actually slightly larger percentage of the Clinton vote might not be for Obama. But I believe that at the end of the day, the party will unite around a nominee and work very hard to elect that person. And we'll take one more question and call it a day.
All right, we'll take the last question.
Hi, guys. It's Karen Breslov from Newsweek. I noticed that when the senator invoked the bitter remarks, I think it was in Pittsburgh recently, there were some groans from the audience, and I'm wondering if that suggests to you that she runs the risk of just playing the card too many times, or was that particular to the audience?
Well, I think that both campaigns had supporters in that audience, and some of the Obama supporters reacted in that way, and obviously that is their right to do that. I believe that this is an issue of tremendous importance to Pennsylvanians. No voter likes to be condescended to, and it is very much top of mind for Pennsylvania voters right now, and it's something that we will continue to talk about. Obviously, there are other issues in this race. Obviously, we will continue to talk about them. We're going to continue to make Senator Clinton's case in many different ways on many different issues, but this is an important issue, and it's one that we're hearing an awful lot about and from voters across the state. And with that, we'll call it a day, and we'll see you again soon. Thanks.